Hey everyone, welcome to Unique Ways with Thomas Gerard, an audio podcast. I have a really great guest on today. He's a multidisciplinary design executive, an entrepreneur, a best-selling author, and a keynote speaker based in Redondo Beach, California. His first book, Reimagining Design, Unlocking Strategic Innovation by MIT Press, was released with notable acclaim under the Simplicity, Design, Business, Technology, Life series in March of 2022. And his second book, which is in progress, will be coming out in early spring 2025. He's also associated with this phrase, open your aperture. Please join me in welcoming Kevin Bethune. Welcome.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Are you ready for 20 questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go. Number one, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
So I presently, let me first start out by saying that I'm a family man. I'm here in Redondo Beach with my wife and now 14-year-old teenage son. So navigating all the life moments with family. But I presently lead my design and innovation practice, what I call Dreams, Design, and Life. And that really sits at the intersection of sort of a combination of strategic design and industrial design, helping to work with client partners to really position design appropriately and build the right capabilities for making sure that we get to relevant outcomes together. And then in parallel with the business, just learning how to navigate as an author, as a new author with Reimagining Design, as well as working on the second book. So it's just juggling a number of different irons in the fire.
Great. And just to note for our audience, Kevin and I don't know each other until now, but I know of Kevin because I've seen him in a lot of John Maida's video work, and John Maida was an early supporter of the show. So great to build out that community. So question two is, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
I think sort of when I reflect back, and it's funny, the first book, Reimagining Design, was sort of an amalgamation and a moment to sort of take a step back and reflect on sort of what makes my present point of view unique based on a number of different multidisciplinary experiences. And I guess I had to realize that the path has been sort of rather unique compared to, many of our typical peers who may have started their career in design all along, or maybe they might have had a couple different chapters. But I had some unique opportunities to navigate classical training as well as professional experience in engineering, first with nuclear, and then business, which landed me at Nike, and then Nike opening my eyes to the power of design, and then adding design and investing in design and an appropriate foundation in design to augment my professional toolkit. Those unique multidisciplinary leaps has allowed me, I think, a unique perspective that can hopefully add value for any team that I have the privilege of collaborating with.
Great, that sounds great. I just want to mention also that you have an art center background, right? We have a popular episode with Chris Do, who's also quite heavily associated with Art Center in Pasadena. So great connection there. So question three, why this of all things? Why do you do what you do?
It's funny, and Chris Do is amazing. But Art Center sort of came later unexpectedly in a way, and that I thought I was done with school by the time I arrived at Nike. But seeing the power of design in that environment, in combination with business and technology, I made a difficult decision later to go back to school. And it's sort of, I'm a mid-career professional going back to grad school for a second time and investing 2 more years in education. That's sort of where the Art Center investment came in. But honestly, to your question, it was a decision to really solidify like what I wanted to do for the rest of my career and really position myself accordingly. I wanted to really work on multidisciplinary innovation and use that collective set of different trainings and professional experiences to help help organizations, whether it's startups or large enterprises, think about pursuing new opportunities in a unique way and hopefully in a very intuitive way that can tap into what people need and how we can sort of show up for people when and where they need us the most. That was sort of the recent set of career investments that allow me to do what I do, which is very much design-led innovation.
Perfect. And some people struggle with number four, but the question is, what does your future look like?
It's funny. On one hand, I think recent experiences, I think we've all had to wrestle with digitization, the power up that digital has had, the power up that software has had in our lives. And there's a lot of opportunity when we think about digital, but there's also a lot of cause for concern as it relates to, like, are these solutions, the apps, the interfaces that we're using, is it helping us or harming us in some ways? And I think there's growing recognition of some of the practices that hopefully we can steer away from. But at the end of the day, I believe we're human beings. We're cerebral, sensorial creatures, multisensory, and the next solution shouldn't just necessarily be another app to inform our smartphone. Ideally, like, we can figure out ways to show up for people where we can tap into the full degrees of senses that truly make us human, and ideally figure out ways to foster ways to help each other unlock human potential, ways to foster human connection with each other. Because unfortunately, I think with the recent challenges, whether it's the pandemic or just the acceleration of digital, the uncertainty around AI, there's a lot of reasons to give us pause for concern. And I hope to be part of collaborations that figure out better ways to show up for people.
Perfect. And five, we say, is unique to this show. And the question is, let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do?
I definitely, it's funny, before the pandemic and before I started Dreams Design in Life, I traveled a lot. So just getting out in different landscapes, immersing in different cultures, that definitely is an appetite that I still have, because I believe those inspirations and meeting people where they are and understanding, like, what makes people tick and their values, culture by culture, like that's always fascinating to me. It always informs creative thinking, creative ideas. But with recent events, pandemic included, like, I had to learn, like all of us had to learn how to figure out how to keep collaborations going in a remote or hybrid sort of modality. And so using ideally the power of technology to still investigate and find ways to access people and relevant ways is sort of the challenge as well as the opportunity. So place matters a great deal, more so for meeting people where they are and learning as much as possible about, like, what people truly value and what people truly need.
Mm-hmm. And if you had to start from the beginning, what advice would you give your former younger self?
I honestly don't have any regrets, but when I do reflect back, if anything, I remember, chapters in life where I might have played things too safe or too conservative, when maybe there was a itch to scratch with regard to curiosity. I would tell my younger self to lean harder and faster into those curious moments and experiment more bullishly, because the more we do that, of course, the more we learn, the more we'll open doors for potential paths of exploration that could yield amazing opportunities. So, and again, I've been super blessed with relationships, inflection points, doors opening, and so I'm conscious of that privilege. At the same time, I would have told my younger self to lean in harder and faster.
Nice. And seven, what's a day in your life like?
Uh, so, my business is small, and that's deliberate. Honestly, I keep a small business on purpose just because it allows me to apply my own two design hands on every collaboration. So, on any given day, I'm usually juggling a couple client partners, being mindful and thoughtful to the relationships and advancing design deliverables, problem solving opportunities, advancing those things forward with my own two design hands, whether it's investigating in the field, doing desk research, or sketching like crazy to diverge a bunch of ideas and converge and diverge again.
Mm.
Uh, these things are just par for the normal course, but I do try to make sure my day is balanced between head down creative problem solving time and the other side of it, which is typical, like a lot of Zoom calls and stakeholder management. But I try to keep a healthy balance, because sometimes the stakeholder managing and the communications can drown out the creative time.
Nice. And lifelong learning is a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
It's funny. I think my first point is just being, sorry, I'll start over. I think my first point of investigation is always following people that inspire me. And so, I'm constantly on social media, and ideally it's like it's a, good behavior where I'm always scanning for inspirations. And I do pick up on whether it's authors or artists, creatives, designers. I'll make a bookmark, and then I'll go back later and follow through and either get that book or just peruse that work and draw inspiration. And maybe that stuff informs a mood board, or maybe that informs a question that I pursue later. And I sort of have a living physical digital library here in my home studio and throughout my home, honestly, where I'm constantly sort of playing with things that I find and finding inspiration in that to inform an investigation or to inform client work or and to inform something that I write about. So it's an ongoing process always.
Great. And 9 is about tools. Can you talk about the digital versus the analog tools?
Yeah. Um, it's funny. Even though I've had a multidisciplinary journey, I tend to lead always with design and specifically just the power of the pencil. And I tend to be a bit analog in that respect, in that I tend to sketch with just, ink pen and paper and markers, Copic markers, to jot ideas that come to me. Um, or, I carry, if it is somewhat digital, I'll carry my iPad Pro and Apple Pencil, and I'll, in an analog way, sort of sketch into different applications. So that's sort of my starting point. But of course, managing the business, working with client partners, routinely on Slack, Figma, all the collaboration tools, Miro, to make sure that I'm respectful and mindful to the needs of a team that's beyond just my own purview.
Hmm. Halfway, number 10, how do you deal with work-life balance?
It is definitely a blend. I think I just try my best to be thoughtful to those around me. So, with my immediate family, like what are the important things that are going on for the week, and making sure that I'm present fully. So if my son has a game, my wife has something that she wants to do together, I just make sure that I block times for those things. And it has to be a really extreme case where I would have to like not be there. And at the same time, for my client partners, emergencies crop up all the time. I just try to be mindful. I try to be a anchor of value for them, and be super responsive whenever it might occur. And sometimes that, if it has to be on a Sunday evening or a Tuesday, late night, or Wednesday early morning, if I'm dealing with someone in Europe, I do what I got to do. But I'm just mindful to the balancing act to make sure that I'm showing up for everyone, but I'm also mindful for what I personally need in terms of
Hmm.
decompression time and rest.
Nice. 11, if you weren't doing what you do now, what would you be doing?
It's funny. I'd probably be an architect.
Hmm.
It's architecture has a similar marriage of engineering, creativity, and of course, the budgeting and business side of things to get projects done. But I'm definitely drawn to architecture.
And what would you not like to do with your career?
I think I guess the older I get, I'm more mindful of noise. There's a lot of things that impinge on our, calendars and our emails and our, messaging. There's a lot of things that claim to be urgent, but aren't necessarily important. So I'm just very mindful to making sure that I'm working on things that are truly important, that are going to move the needle for whatever collaboration I'm a part of.
Do you have a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
Um, one of my favorite talks is one that Denzel Washington gave to the University of Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
And I think he was reaffirming a quote that his wife sort of reinforced to him. But, it's basically my mantra for innovation. To get something you never had, you have to be prepared to do something you never did.
Hmm. Nice. How about a least favorite?
A least favorite word, quote, or sentence?
Okay.
Uh, I can't be creative. When someone says that, it drives me nuts.
Hmm. If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what word would you choose?
I hate to be cliche, but probably polymath.
Nice. What keeps you up at night?
Honestly, like right now, the world is in a whole lot of hurt. Um, whether it's terrorism, war, uh, even the covert stuff too, like bias that it sort of informs our everyday life, prejudice, ignorance that crop up, and you sort of feel it in your working journey. There's concerns naturally as a Black American navigating corporate America in society, and I'm married to an Ethiopian-born wife and a son that's navigating two cultures within the same house. Yeah, I'm definitely concerned with how my family navigates the world. Is it safe for them, overtly and covertly? And how does like bias show up? And are they getting a fair deal? When I think about like my family navigating the world and how I do my very best to take care of them, those are natural things I think that keep me up at night.
Final stretch here. What's the dream you're chasing?
If anything, I will probably pivot Dreams Design in Life to incubate more of its own products and with a specific focus on tangibles.
Mm.
So, I don't know if DDL will turn into the Muji of XYZ or the Bitsu, or I have a feeling that I'm going to get more bullish on incubating my own tangibles under the DDL umbrella and just sort of put a flag in the sand for what I feel constitutes thoughtful, sustainable design.
18, what inspires you?
Um, Traveling in different cultures, because it just always puts you in that continuous learning mode, and I recognize that that's a privilege to be able to travel and go see and go talk to people, go meet people where they are. But that's probably where I get most of my inspiration.
Advice, any advice you'd like to share?
For anyone listening, definitely to always practice exercising your muscles of curiosity,
Mhm.
because the more you practice like leaning into that curiosity, any curiosity that you have, like go talk to someone or go do that experiment, engage in a side hustle so you learn, just keep scratching the itch, because that's where the most prolific doors have opened in my career when I was doing those things.
Great. And 20, how can our listeners keep tabs on you? What's our call to action?
Oh, well, thank you. The easiest way is just to go to kevinbethune.com, or on most social media platforms, I'm at Kevin Bethune. But appreciate everyone if they like what they heard, to check out Reimagining Design and also the new book to come. And I'm always grateful for those that share how those works, or any work that I put out there, how it resonates with them. And hopefully the goal is any work that I put out, I hope that people see a little bit of themselves in the work.
Mm.
And if anything, it gives those audiences more courage to be more creative and curious.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on, to build out this community, as I said, and also to collaborate on the West Coast here. I'm in Vancouver, so we're both on this side of the continent. So thank you so much.
Like, oh no, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.